Welcome to the Kiwimana Bay. G'day. Manuka honey goes to court. Episode 138.
Kiwimana are beekeepers from the hills of the Waitaki Ranges on the wild west coast of Auckland in the North Island of New Zealand.
We produce and sell beekeeping equipment, provide beekeeper services and education.
And in this episode, we talk about why the Ministry of Primary Industries is taking a honey producer to court.
And the European Union may be changing its stance on bee-killing pesticides. Also, Kiwimana Roving Reports checking in from
Australia,
United States of America, and
the United Kingdom.
Awesome.
It's awesome to see so many united countries.
Yeah, let's do it, Gary.
And the show notes for this podcast are kiwi.bz/138. And who helped us bring this show to you? This show is made possible by our amazing supporters. Every show we read out our top supporters, and on the first show of each month we read out all the supporters. Thanks to you all. This show would like to thank
Robin O'Connell,
Justin Bumstead,
Nathan Buzzinger Beekeeping,
Greg Parr,
Karen Shields, Christopher Brown, that's awesome, Gary, Dan McGivern,
Lisa Morrissey,
Tony Lum,
Daniel Bockris,
Tim Wilcox,
Rebecca Wade,
Cameron Miskin,
Irene Townsend,
Trish Stretton, Malcolm Sanford,
Carolyn Sloan,
John Paff,
Goodney Hunter,
Barbara Weber,
and Michelle Lassie. Also, thanks to our new supporter. Who's our new supporter?
Well, thanks to Chris from Hampshire in the UK. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to being a Patreon. And thanks for your support, Chris.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, guys, we've just heard of a devastating event in Los Angeles where a mudslide has actually destroyed David from Buzzed Honey's beehive. So it's a shocking event. So let's try and give David a ring and get some more information about it. Hi, David. Is that David?
Hi, Gary. That must be Gary from Kiwimana. I'd recognize your voice anywhere.
Thanks, David. So you've from Buzzed Honey in Los Angeles.
Buzzed Honeys with
Buzzed
the S on the end.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Yeah. And what's happened with your apiary?
So at the end of January, it started raining, and all the beekeepers here got very excited because we've been in a drought now for 7 years. And then it just kept raining and raining and raining. And unfortunately, one of my big bee yards is down at the bottom of a ravine, which I never expected to get flooded. And the whole side of the hill came down. So maybe 10,000 square feet of soil was washed down. It's straight down and straight through the middle of the bee yard.
Wow.
And so that drowned, at least half of the equipment is completely submerged now in mud. And as it dries out, unfortunately, now it's going to be submerged in dirt.
Yeah, so is it all crushed as well, I suppose, eh?
Yeah, a lot of the boxes are destroyed, are just broken apart. And then some of the stuff I haven't seen yet because I haven't started digging. And a few of the hives miraculously came through it fine. So I had a few nuke boxes that must have somehow floated to the top or been pushed up as the mud came through. And I moved those to another location. Then a few of the hives are still there. They got tipped over, but the bees seem to be doing okay.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, about 5, I would say, out of there are about 40 hives there, and we probably 5 of them will make it, and the rest are a total loss, unfortunately.
Oh, that's terrible. So how can people help you out?
So I posted the Mudslide on Instagram, and someone suggested I start a GoFundMe. So I did that. And so we have the GoFundMe page up. And that is, it's probably the easiest is if you search GoFundMe for Buzzed Bees, Buzzed, and then bees. And that would bring up my campaign.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What I'll do is I'll set up a link for you. So it'll be kiwi.bz/buzzed. That's BUZZED. And people can click on that and then we can go to it. Or you can look on the show notes, guys, at kiwi.bz/138. Well, it's terrible, David. I'm really feeling for you there. That's shocking. And I'm sure beekeepers around the world will feel the same and hopefully help you out there.
Oh, that would be great. That'd be much appreciated. Yeah, the response has been really gratifying. We've had about 150 people contribute so far, and so we're about halfway to our goal. And I've used some of that money already to hire an extra pair of hands. So I have an assistant now who's helping me do everything, really. Start to rebuild and get the rest of the equipment that I have in shape. And of course, swarm season started here already, so we have a lot of bees coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Need a place to put them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, guys. Well, we've contributed to this, to David's campaign here, so if you guys can help out, that'd be awesome. So thanks, guys. And thanks, David, for the call. Yeah,
thanks very much for having me on the show. I'm a big fan of the show, by the way.
What does it mean to be an organic or natural beekeeper, Margaret?
Well, lately, Gary, it's been quite relaxed. The bees seem to be very calm and happy. It may seem strange, but even when I have inspected the hives, they don't seem so bothered. They're just getting on with it and,
Oh, that's good. It's always good that you're happy.
Yes, happy.
And what did we discuss in the last show? We discussed what's the weather doing nowadays?
Well, last show we talked about how high the temperatures have been, and recently the weather has dropped about 5 degrees Celsius, and the evenings and mornings are a lot cooler now.
Yes, I've noticed that. It was quite cold this morning. It was like 12 degrees.
Absolutely, and between 12 and 14 degrees is what I consider to be foraging temperature, so they may not be coming out early.
Yes, and how are the bees behaving then? Are they you say they're not coming out as early? What else are they doing?
The temperature side of things means that we've had to do some different things in terms of the robbing screens, and I'll talk about that, but they're actually just carrying on. And in terms of their behaviours, like you asked, they have just been capping honey frames, and I had this theory of not putting on too many boxes too quick to encourage that capping, and they seem to be doing that really well. So that's a really good thing. Very excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome. So, and I've noticed the beekeepers' behaviour is very busy out there in the bee yard. While I sit inside watching the Netflix.
Indeed.
Still injured, guys. A good excuse.
That's it. He's still on the road to recovery while I'm on the road to the apiary.
That's right. So
Did you like that, Gary?
Oh, it's comedy gold.
Okay.
So how's your behaviour been?
My behaviour? I've been a very good girl.
That's good.
Well, last inspections I aimed at checking space, and this resulted in the fact that they needed some extra frames. So I manipulated the fuller honey frames to the far sides, and these are my Langstroth colonies, and checked frames for how full of nectar they were, and just adjusted the most full of nectar to the far sides and the less full more in the middle, and any empty frames smack down in the centre. In one colony, I removed 2 fully capped frames and replaced them with frames with just wax foundation to see if the girls will start to draw comb. If they don't do anything on those frames, then I know that the temperature change means that they are not in wax production anymore.
Okay, we'll have to take a note of that and see what they're in a couple of weeks to see what the results are, eh?
Yeah. And we're actually now in autumn, aren't we?
We are. It's March already, but I think we're still going to have a few more weeks of summer. What do you think?
Yeah, a bit of summer temperatures during the day, definitely, and the girls very busy. During the day, I've noticed the temperatures coming up to about 20, 24 degrees, so it's still pretty warm out there. And the girls are very busy, and I noticed there was some real big pollen sacs coming in. So, yeah, they're getting on with it, that's for sure.
Well, that's awesome. So what are you working on now, Chief Beekeeper?
Wow, that's an interesting title. I haven't heard that one before. Well, I'll take that and I'll put on my Chief Beekeeper hat.
Well, that's just until I get better.
Oh, I see. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. Anyway, I'm just going to ignore it and move on. Okay, I didn't get a chance to treat all the hives because I've been so busy doing the shop's orders, and they have been keeping me very busy, and a lot of folks buying the treatments and gear in preparation for wintering down. And the robbing screens are proving very popular, as it's true that there are risks with robbing bees and wasps at this time of the year. Wasps are building up and want protein for their new queens, and then once they've fed them up, they will fly out and go to find places to hibernate. And we leave some rolled up tarpaulins around, and it's a great trap for them to go in, and then as we come into spring, we actually open up the tarpaulins and kill them. So that's our strategy. Some folks are doing late season extractions, which can sometimes cause panic and create robbing situations for neighbouring beehives. I mean, just imagine if you have been working your off and filling up your larder, and then one day you come home and your larder is empty. Panic! Oh my goodness, what can I do? And I guess this is what I'm saying the bees will do. Panic!
Yep, absolutely. But just be very careful when you taking honey off the thing. Don't leave boxes open for too long, otherwise you will get robbing, won't you?
Yeah, and I still think that taking too much off can cause that robbing instinct to kick in.
So what are the benefits of leaving the honey on?
Well, the benefits are that leaving honey stores on this late in the season means that you don't have to worry about the Tootin risk here in New Zealand and some areas anyway, but Tootin does not harm the bees. Plus, you don't create that robbing situation we talked about or the panic that goes with that, and your colony has good nutritious food to get them through winter, plus no need for you to buy loads of sugar and cook up sugar syrup. So win-win. Yeah, and you'll have resources there for spring. So that's what we do, and we encourage others to do the same.
Yes, indeed. So you're really thinking if you wanted to take honey off, you should have taken it off now, already?
Well, I think in New Zealand the rule is that you should take it off at the end of December and avoid that Tootin risk altogether. Well, it's been a bit difficult for some folks to not take anything off because even the beginner colonies are getting lots of honey in there. So it's been an awesome season for us here in Auckland, I think, and haven't heard what it's like for others around the country at this point. So, so it's good. It's good to keep honey for them.
Absolutely. So how are we preparing for what's coming up for the bees then?
Okay, well, the things that are happening with change in temperatures means that I will start adding the hive mats with the small slots that I've talked about before. I'm just trying to put all the honey above the hive mat and keep all the brood down. I haven't completely done that, so I'm just going to add the hive mats, the extra ones, and then as I start to do the inspections in a couple of weeks, I'll probably try to move as much brood together, but also keeping in mind that if space is really tight and we continue to get really good summery days, we may need to add extra boxes, but I will use the hive mats to lessen airspace as we get the cooler temperature.
So the slots and the hive mats give a bit of circulation? Is that what the reason is?
Yeah, it's kind of like adding a level where it condenses down the brood firstly and foremost. So what happens generally in winter and autumn is that if the brood is in the bottom and the temperatures start to get cold and there's other boxes on top, they may move up, especially if the hives are on the ground. So we want to stop them from doing that because that can leave brood behind and cause chilling and open up the entrance because it's not going to be as guarded as it should be. So that's what the whole premise is of adding this extra hive mat. We're still trying to keep them at a level where they don't have to maintain too much airspace but not cramp them so much. That's the premise of the extra hive mat with the small slot. So, yeah, I'll be adding them to the colonies but not necessarily moving them.
Oh, okay. Have you seen drones being removed yet, or is it still early, isn't it?
Still early, I think, for us. And some in New Zealand, some areas, they have drones through winter too. So we have to be mindful of that one.
Yes, and be mindful of wasps and other robbing bees. So you've put the robbing screens down now?
Yeah, this week I moved all the robbing screens down, and the colonies that haven't got robbing screens at the moment, I'm just building some more, so they will get robbing screens in the next week as well. The robbing screens during the day can get a bit crowded, but I don't worry about that because the goal is to keep the entrances so that no wasps or robbing bees can make their way in.
Fantastic. And so you've been busy monitoring at this time of the year?
Yeah, I'm doing monitoring as well, and that's why I need to treat, and we're doing that tomorrow actually. I think the other things we're sort of anticipating as we go along is that we have no late season absconding, and that's to ensure that the hive is not honey bound. So if we find that through the inspections that they're really full and there's no room for them to work, I'll probably remove some capped honey frames and add some empty frames just so they've got that space, and they may draw them, I don't know, but like I said, we'll be checking that as we go along. But we don't want to make them too confined, so they may abscond. And we also want to ensure that there's no varroa threat. So that's really the key jobs at the moment. So where we're at the moment is monitoring. And monitoring is, as you say, Gary, key for this time of the year for organic beekeepers. Reacting quickly to results of the monitoring will give you control, and the benefits of reacting before the problems escalate means that you will have surviving colonies. And that will mean that they should winter through well and without varroa present in cells. That's the goal you're looking for.
Awesome. And at Kiwimana, our mission is to
save one hive at a time by helping you keep your honeybees alive and cause less harm to bees.
It's autumn or fall here in New Zealand, but what's happening around the world? Let's hear from our Kiwimana roving reporters. This week we have roving reporters from Britmana / Sheffield, South Australia, Texas, Indiana and Portland. Let's head up to the old country and hear from Chris in England.
Hi Gary, hi Margaret, it's Chris from Sheffield in the UK. Just calling in with my roving reporter update. I hope you guys are well. We've had a fairly mild winter by all accounts, and the snowdrops and crocuses are out here, so the bees are out foraging with a recent turn of nice weather. Our thoughts are sort of turning towards building up colonies for spring, and also towards the recent Asian hornet invasion that we've been suffering the past few years, which has been increasing in number, and we expect 2019 to be the year where they really take hold in the UK. Supposedly they predate predominantly on honeybees. There's been some fairly doom and gloom forecasts, but I tend to believe it's going to be the same situation as it is with Varroa, that some people decide this is the time to give up beekeeping because it's going to be sort of the final straw. But actually, I'm fairly sanguine about the whole thing, and I believe that following some sort of reports about people who are actually keeping bees in France, like expats from the UK who keep sort of blogs and video blogs on the internet, actually you find that even when they occur in areas in large number, they don't solely predate on honeybees, and actually people sort of continue to quite happily keep honeybees in areas where there are Asian hornets. That obviously doesn't mean you can sort of chill out and not worry about them, but I don't think it's the end of the beekeeping world as we know it. Anyway, I hope you guys are well. yeah, just all the best from us here in the UK. And our thoughts obviously been with you due to the fires that you guys have been having. I know that was Nelson, sort of top of the South Island, but I understand you've had a bit of a heat wave. So yeah, take it easy. We'll happily send some of our cold weather your way if you want it. So just shout out and let me know. All right, cheers.
Well, you can send some rain to us. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it has been very dry here, and really good to get a report from Chris at Britmana. So well done, Chris. Yeah, interesting to hear that the bees are out. Hey.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear about the Asian hornets. Hopefully they don't cause too much trouble to our listeners in the UK.
Have to get robbing screens, eh, Dale?
Yes, indeed. Well, I mean, I know when we interviewed James from Japan, they did have like sort of robbing screens, and they had a small entrance for the bees, and then the hornets couldn't get through them. But they're a lot bigger, those ones, eh?
Yeah, so you'd be looking at a normal 8 to 10 millimetre bee space, I guess.
I'm not sure. We'd have to find out. But yeah, we're interesting to see what you guys are doing about these.
Yeah, interesting. All right. Anyway, that was great to hear from Chris. Yes, moving on.
Okay, the next roving reporter is a new roving reporter from Dan from Victor Harbour in South Australia. And Dan, with his amazing help of his lovely wife, Tracy, is a keeper of bees and chickens, and he lives in Victor Harbour in South Australia. And have you seen how they spell harbour?
Very unusual.
Yeah, because apparently they made a mistake a few years ago, and the mistake stuck, or the mistake stood. Anyway, you can follow Dan's adventures at daniel.mcgiven on Instagram. So let's hear from Dan.
G'day, Dan McGivern here from Victor Harbour, South Australia, with my wife Tracy and daughters Miranda and Ivy. We're amateur beekeepers here on the south coast of South Australia. Well, we've had a very hot summer. In fact, a couple of weeks ago we had the hottest day ever locally. It was 47 degrees. It was a real bad day for beekeeping in the area. In fact, a lot of local beekeepers lost their bees over those couple of days and the subsequent days after that. Fortunately, bees got through, no doubt due to the hard work of my wife Tracy. She kept wetting the grass. We gave them plenty of shade and looked after them and been fortunate enough to get them through. The struggle has continued on since then, of course, because a lot of plants died in that extreme heat. So most of our garden got sizzled in the heat, which is understandable. We have noticed that there's hardly any flowers around at the moment, and even the ones that are around, there's basically very little nectar on them, particularly in the a week or so afterward. And the bees have been pretty slow in moving around, but they seem to be pretty much back to normal. I guess there's maybe not still a lot of nectar around and hardly any pollen, but hopefully things will pick up. We've been keeping bees for about 1.5 years now, and we're just learning stuff every single day. We've made a few mistakes, and no doubt we'll make a few more, but it's good being part of a community like this one where we can learn together as a family. And thanks very much to you guys there at Kiwimana. We've learnt a lot from you guys and really enjoy the podcast and seeing the video blogs and so forth as well. So thanks very much, and maybe we'll catch up with you another time. See ya.
Cool bananas, man.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's hot over there, in Australia.
And thanks for being a brave soul there, Dan. And lovely to hear from you all and the family. And, yeah, our thoughts are going to you while you're dealing with this very hot weather.
Yes, and watch that sizzling garden. Sounds terrible. But, yeah, no, it's not a very good situation over there, with the weather.
Yeah, it's been a tough one, that's for sure. And I know that Aussies do have the heat, more than we do in that sense. So, but it's like Dan said, we have made mistakes over time, and our mistakes sort of are to do with very damp and wet situations. So it's really good to have lots of different areas and countries and people to talk to. So yeah, thanks Dan for doing this. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome, Dan and Tracy. And so thanks for listening. And a mistake's only a mistake if you don't learn from it. Hey, or a mistake is just another blog post, Dale?
That's the truth, yeah.
So thanks, Dan, Tracy, for supporting the Kiwimana Buzz.
Okay, and we heard from Jessie in Smithville. which is a small town between Austin and Houston in the big old US of A.
Yes, he had an issue recording his report, so we'll read it for him. He said, "Hello, Gary. It's cold and wet here. 38 Fahrenheit yesterday, and it was close to 80 Fahrenheit. Oh, today.
Wow.
Oh, today is 38. Yesterday was 80. Yep, it's hot."
He said, my bees were getting pollen from somewhere and loads of it. He doesn't know what happened to his computer, but he can't find the thing that talks online. No
fair
worries.
enough.
No worries, Jesse. And next month he's looking at doing a split.
Wow.
So that's pretty good. Those temperatures, I'm not sure. I'd love to hear how that goes. So thanks, Jesse.
Yes, absolutely.
And now we hear from John and Jenny from Tulip Tree Adopt a Bee. John and Jenny are from Huntington in Indiana in the United States of America.
Yes, check out their website at tuliptreehoney.com. And thanks, guys, for being one of our supporters as well. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Hello, Gary and Margaret. This is John.
And Jeannie, checking in from Tulip Tree Adopt a Bee in northern Indiana, USA.
Hey, it's almost March, and it's still really cold in Indiana.
We're impatient to see the first maples and pussy willows start to bloom. Those are two really good sources of early pollen for our bees.
On warmer days, we do see the bees out taking cleansing flights, but there's still not a lot going on in the apiary. It's just been too cold and rainy to work our hives, and it's still a little too early for us to make splits.
John's been out in the garage rendering beeswax. He's used an old crock pot we got at a thrift store to clean and separate our capping wax from last season.
Now that's been a fun project. We started with a 5-gallon bucket of capping wax, all sticky with honey. I scooped some of that slurry into a paint strainer bag, popped it into the crock pot, and added about 4 cups of water.
Simmering on low heat melted the wax and separated it from the honey, propolis, dead bees, and any other debris.
After a few hours, I pulled the strainer bag with all the nasty stuff inside out of the crock pot and turned off the heat. The clean wax floated to the surface of the honey and water mixture, and eventually it hardened into a nice, clean disc of wax.
The garage sure smelled good, but it's a really messy job. So thank you, John, for doing it in the garage this time.
You're not going to tell them about the time I tried to render wax in the kitchen?
Well, let's just say you had a lot of cleaning to do in lots of areas of the kitchen.
Remember, fellas, never in the kitchen. Take it outside.
And on that note, so long from Tulip Tree Adopt a Bee.
Bye.
I think there's a story there.
There is a story there, and yeah, sounds good. And yeah, winter is a great time to start doing cleaning and, you know, prepping the gear and buying in new gear if you need to, eh?
Yes, absolutely. And that method that John's talked about there, that's similar one that we do. But what we do, John and Jeannie, is we actually put rocks in it. So it weighs it down to the bottom of the pan.
Yeah, different methods, that work. And yeah, it was good to hear that they're getting prepped, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see when they are ready to do their splits.
Yes, indeed. Now let's head south to Oregon. We're going to hear from Mandy from the Pacific Northwest, reporting in from Portland, Oregon. And check out Mandy's fantastic beekeeping podcast called Beekeeping Confidential. Shh. Here's Mandy.
Hey, Gary and Margaret, this is Mandy from Beekeeper Confidential. We've had some crazy weather here in the Pacific Northwest. What we thought was a mild winter full of early brood rearing has turned cold and icy and snowy. It's been 2 straight weeks of nighttime temps dropping below freezing and daytime temperatures barely reaching 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Some places up in Washington have had over a foot of snow. 2 weeks ago, the east side of Portland received several inches of snow, while over here on the west side, we received none. But today it's snowing pretty hard, and we may end up with some accumulation. I lost 1 nucleus colony during the cold snap, but my other hives are still going, and on clear sunny days, they're coming out and visiting their watering stations, and even managing to bring back some pollen. I think it's remarkable that even with condensation occurring inside the hives, the bees are still going out and seeking sources of water. Swarm season is under 2 months away, and beekeepers here are starting to get pretty excited, myself included. The loss rates, though, have been pretty staggering, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of storm season we end up with. It may be one loaded up with absconded packaged bees. We'll just have to wait and see. Until next time, may the buzz be with you.
Absolutely, and may the buzz be with you as well.
Yeah, Gary. Shh, this is all confidential.
That's Mandy's podcast. This isn't confidential.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's awesome, and love to hear that enthusiasm in there, Mandy, and wonderful that the bees are going out just a little bit over there too. So,
yes, and we've been hearing about them preparing, and we saw Bill Catherall, who used to do the videos guy. He's been on the show. He's been going to the gym to prepare for the bee seasons in Oregon. So
he'll have to practice his weightlifting.
Yep.
And
swarm collecting.
That's right, climbing.
Hanging onto a tree with one arm while holding a swarm.
Awesome. So that's been awesome, Dale. So we've got Dan, Chris, John and Jeannie and Mandy and Jessie, and it's just fantastic, guys. So thanks so much for taking time to do that, and we look forward to hearing what's going to happen in another couple of weeks, because who knows?
Yes, who knows? And do you want to be a roving reporter? Yes, you. We're talking to you. It would be awesome if you could help create the buzz by being part of the show, reporting in from your location while in the field.
So reporting in from your location while you're in the field or apiary, guys. So come on, just take the leap. It's easy to do, and just like Dan, he was a bit nervous, but he did it. So you can do it.
That's right. So record a quick update, 1 to 2 minutes, of your local weather conditions and what people should be doing with their bees in their area at the moment.
Absolutely fantastic.
And send a file to Gary at kiwimana.co.nz and title it Roving Reporter.
Roving Reporter.
It'll get to me.
Cool.
Beekeeping news you can use.
And this one, you want to hear the views on this one. Manuka honey producer charged in landmark case. This is about a sneaky, fleeing, thieving mongrel fraudster company.
Tell us how it is.
That's the way it is, Gary.
Company based in Albany, which is in Auckland, is accused of selling adulterated honey. MPI is taking the company, which is Evergreen Life Limited, to court.
And MPI is the Ministry of Primary Industries here in New Zealand.
That's right, and quoting from the article, court action has been filed against an Auckland honey producer whose products were pulled from the market, I remember that, in 2016. It's the first prosecution ever filed against a producer of Manuka honey.
And only took 3 years.
Yeah, the wheels of justice move very slowly.
Tell us more, Gary.
Okay, well, Manuka honey producers often rate their product by the amount of MGO that's contained, but this company, Evergreen Life Limited, has been accused of adding synthetic versions of these MGO compounds to its products. And in 2016, 18 honey lines manufactured by the company were recalled.
Blimmin' heck, this does make me upset, I tell you now.
I know. And 71 charges alleging adulteration have been filed against the company. And the most serious of the charges carry a maximum penalty of 5 years imprisonment or $500,000 fine in the case of a body corporate.
Wow, that's pretty significant. Registered owners of the company are Mr. J. Lee and Hyung Soo Lee from Auckland. And where are they now?
Well, unknown.
Hyung Soo Lee has a property in Murray's Bay with a current a government valuation of over $4.2 million with a pool and a tennis court.
Yes. Who says crime doesn't pay?
Oh, my giddy aunt.
But anyway, I must say, this is an alleged crime.
Alleged.
Allegedly they did this. It hasn't gone to court yet.
So it's public record that these are the people involved?
Yes, they own the company. And Radio New Zealand understands the owners have left the country some time ago. Well, that's convenient.
Yes, wow, this is shocking. And as you say, you know, in discussions that it may damage our reputation of Manuka honey worldwide.
Well, it will. I think it will. And because companies like the BBC in the UK have already picked the story up. But the good thing is that the fact that they've been picked up and discovered is a good thing in some ways.
Oh, yeah, I think so. We have to make it out there that we are checking the quality, that it is important to do that. And, the genuine Kiwis who are doing real good hard work will probably be pleased to see these people not in this business anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And the new honey testing that MPI have implemented will probably pick up these things.
Oh, that'd be awesome, eh? We'll just have to wait and see how they end up doing that.
Yes, we got some feedback from Brian Mitchell. He says the owners left the company some time ago. Guess they weren't New Zealanders. That might mean their culture of honesty has principles incompatible with our heritage and ethics.
Some good points there. And yes, you go to different countries. There's different, ways of doing what we do or they do. And so you have to, be a law-abiding citizen and do the right thing in terms of the laws of that country.
Absolutely.
So you can't get away with that when you go to other countries,
No, that's right. And we shouldn't tarnish a whole country for a couple of scallywags, should we? Oh, sorry, alleged scallywags.
Alleged scallywags, get it right, Gary. And
it will be interesting to see what this court case does happen.
Yeah, how that all ends up being proven or disproven.
But I don't know how they're going to put a guy in prison for 5 years if he's not here.
Yeah, that's it. So, Gary, what other stories are in the press?
Well, we've got some other stories too. There's an article there from stuff.co.nz from February 2016. That was when the products were all recalled. And there's also an update from Ron's blog, Bad Beekeeping blog, about the recall as well. And that was also in 2016. So
that's Ron Miksha.
Ron Miksha. You can.
And whereabouts is he again? Sorry,
he's Canada, Calgary. And you can check up on those articles to get a bit of historical access.
Okay, so it'll give you just the context of how that's all the timeline that goes along with that. Cool bananas, Gary. Good work.
Okay, next story. European governments pave way for bee-killing pesticides. What?
Well, we just can't believe this, guys. In this article, it appears that this is a step back for our honeybees. There was a leaked article discovered by Greenpeace, and whatever you think about Greenpeace, this article is alarming. It says the European Union may be changing the criteria or bee safety standards that it uses to test future applications for new pesticides. What?
Yes, and quoting from the article, under pressure from the pesticide producers and governments, the European Commission is planning to scrap bee safety standards that led to a ban of 3 bee-killing pesticides according to a leaked plan.
This is just incredible.
So they're changing the criteria that they measure new pesticides on.
It sounds like they're saying they're under pressure. How can a government be under pressure? I mean, I don't know. This is terrible. That really smells of bad government.
Yes, well, there's one member of the European Union leaving them, aren't they? But that's another story.
That's a whole other story, and I reckon that this is very sad. And some of the points that I think are of concern is that there is pressure from the pesticide producers. So how can they have any leverage on the European Union, for goodness sake?
It's shocking that anyone can have leverage on a government, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a union of lots of governments. So how the heck does that happen? So only 3 pesticides from the neonicotinoids class were tested. So
I think they're trying to say only 3 of them were tested, so why have they banned all of them? Because they're terrible. Anyway.
Well, the way I see it is that they're using the standards from the original testing of neonicotinoids, and 3 were banned, and that they aren't using the same criteria for testing these newer chemicals.
That's what I say. That's what I think. I mean, we don't know. I mean, maybe the new criteria is tougher. We don't know yet, but I'm guessing it's not going to be, but we don't. It's just assuming.
my points that I think is that if the union won't use the same standards to these new bee killing pesticides, what standards are they going to use, and what is the benefit of changing the criteria for similar chemicals when precedent should be used on all of these chemicals? And the reason is maybe there is some pressure on these governments by these big companies.
Well, that's kind of what it's implying, but
that's what I think.
You're
right.
Yeah, it doesn't really go into a lot of detail, does it?
No, it's we have to find out, because this will probably be a moving story at this stage, and there's protests going on in that picture as well. So
yeah, so if you're in the European Union and you find out what these new criteria are, maybe get in touch with us.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I've done some Googling and I haven't seen any new articles about it. So
okay, well, we'll keep an eye on that, guys. Have a look at that article, short but sweet. It's I do worry about this.
Yes, and we got one bit of feedback from Bobby's Apiaries, and they said, let's hope it's only fake news. That's right.
That's right. Fake news, all right. And the problem is that let's hope it's only fake news and not going to be real news.
Real news.
When we hear about bees dying because they're using these new blimmin' chemicals.
Well, yeah, so keep an eye out, guys, if you're in the European Union, and get back to us. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, just saying, Gary, that was a tangent, but I'm sure everyone will agree it's a worthwhile tangent.
Absolutely.
Especially if it causes harm to our girls. Oh, wow, that's cool. And so we've come to the end of the show, guys. And do you love what we do? Did you find something useful for your beekeeping? Do you want to help us to produce more content?
And it's easy to become a supporter. You just go to kiwi.bz/banana. And also just a note that we use Patreon for our supporter site, and it actually operates in US dollars.
If you become a supporter, you get a mention on the show, Gary.
Well, and you also get these shows a whole week before everyone else.
Yeah, awesome. A few privileges there.
Yes, and a warm heart too. Hey.
Yes, you will have a great sleep, guys, knowing you are helping the worldwide bee community. And by helping Gary and Margaret produce these podcast shows, videos and blog posts, which we will share with you and the wider beekeeping community. And did we say it's easy to do?
That's right, absolutely. And all the links and all the comments and all the work is on the show notes page, which is kiwi.bz/138.
So guys, go bananas!
Yes, go bananas.
Go bananas, become a patron.
Okay, so thanks, guys. Jesus, how many times are you going to say it?
I don't know, Gary.
Thanks. Well, I just want to say thanks to you for listening. That's awesome, and we'll have a new show in a couple of weeks, and we'll have a new newsletter soon too, eh?
Yeah, Margaret's going on road trip. Anyway, guys, awesome. Thank you so much. And to all of you who gave feedback, who gave us roving reports from all over the place, thank you, thank you, thank you. Is that it?
That's it. Let's go. Cup of tea.